Have you ever felt like you've been acting your whole life? It's not a fake performance, but a kind of quiet role, so subtle that you forget you're even playing it. You reply to messages the way an adult should. You smile at the right time, hold back in the right places, and say reasonable things to make everyone comfortable. You work hard, live right, and tell yourself, "This is me." But is that really true? Sometimes, in the middle of an ordinary day, a feeling of emptiness washes over you that you can't put a name to. It's not exactly sad, not exactly bored. It's like standing in front of a mirror and seeing someone who has learned too well how to be an adult. Someone has lived in the role long enough to the point of forgetting it's just a role. The self you are living might not be you. It could be the collection of things you were taught you had to become, to be loved, to be accepted, to survive. And the strange thing is, you can peel it off layer by layer, as gently as peeling off an old piece of fabric. No need to break it. There's no need to run. Just look straight at yourself, at the part of you that you put down a long time ago. So, if you don't need to be anyone today, what's left? You might not remember the first moment you started taking care of yourself, but it often happens sooner than you think. Maybe there was a time you cried loudly out of fear and an adult said, "Be quiet, don't bother me." Or when you get angry about being treated unfairly and someone looks at you as if you're the one at fault. Perhaps it's when you're overly happy and are told, "Don't overdo it or you'll be disliked." Those moments are small but strong enough to make a child begin to believe that my true feelings might be a problem. And then you learn to be good. It's not because you're the ideal child, but because you realize the better you are, the easier it is to be loved. The quieter you are, the less you'll be blamed. The more you please, the more trouble you avoid. Gradually, you adjust yourself like a survival mechanism, ignoring emotions, hiding sensitivity, and trying to be normal for safety. And that's when the first mask formed, the mask of a good child. That mask isn't ugly, it helped you survive. But the price you pay is that the truth within you begins to fade. You stop saying no when you want to refuse. You learn to smile when you're breaking inside. You become an accepted version of yourself, but no longer true to yourself. That child is still within you. It still knows how to back off when it sees others getting angry. Still breathing lightly when someone is dissatisfied. Still forcing a smile when I don't feel okay. And the heartbreaking thing is, no matter if you're 35, 40, or 50 years old, you might still be operating according to the emotional map of that 5-year-old child. But you can start to see it, not to blame, but to understand. Because when you are quiet enough, sincere enough with yourself, you will begin to hear that child whispering, "I don't want to pretend anymore. I just want to be real." And that's when the journey of taking off the mask begins, not by breaking it, but by realizing you never needed it to be loved. As you grow older, the second mask doesn't appear with the same angry voice or distinct fear as it did in childhood. It comes more gently, like a coat someone has already prepared for you, and you simply put it on, because everyone does. You chose a stable job, not necessarily because you loved it, but because it made sense. You remain silent in insincere conversations because being honest could lead to isolation. You start playing the role of a responsible, goal-oriented adult with a normal life, because that's what society expects of you. And little by little, You trade the raw, instinctive, wild nature within you for stability, security, and external recognition. You become a well-behaved child, a reliable colleague, an easygoing partner. But sometimes, in a moment when no one is looking, you look back at your life and wonder, did I really choose this path? That question is often drowned out by the noise of schedules, bills, and unread emails. But it still repeats every time you feel tired, even though you don't know why. Every time you succeed by societal standards, but inside, you're not happy at all. Whenever you find yourself living correctly, but not feeling true. The adult mask is not forced upon you. You put it on yourself, hoping that if you lived up to the role, you would eventually feel fulfilled. But masks don't know emotions. It only knows function. And so it cannot love, cannot feel pain, cannot be moved like the human part of you once was. You're not wrong for living like that. You did what was necessary to survive in a world with so many expectations. But at some point, you might have to ask, if I'm no longer what others expect, what am I left with? And that's when you start to feel that loneliness doesn't come from a lack of people around you, but from losing connection with yourself. Actually, you never lost that. That primordial essence is still there, lying deep beneath all roles. It doesn't require you to quit your job. It doesn't require you to give up everything. It just needs you to admit, I don't want to just be the image of a trustworthy person. I want to be real. And sometimes, just such a simple acknowledgement is enough to crack the mask that has been worn for too long. There comes a moment, sooner or later, when the mask begins to crack. It's not because you did anything wrong, but because it's no longer aligned with the person you're becoming. Perhaps it's when you wake up on a weekend morning, look around your tidy adult room, and find it empty. It could be when someone asks, "How are you doing lately?" And you answer, "Yeah, everything's fine," too quickly, too automatically, to the point where you don't even believe that yourself anymore. Or maybe it's when you see someone being real, messy, wild, imperfect, and you feel strangely envious. Because you realize you've traded truth for stability, and now you're not sure if you even recognize yourself anymore. That feeling is not pleasant. It wasn't a sudden collapse, but a quiet crack. Everything still works. You're still working, still chatting, still answering emails. But inside, something is breaking. Not noisy, no tragedy. It just doesn't fit anymore. The role you once immersed yourself in is starting to feel cramped. The voice you used to please others now sounds unfamiliar. The familiar smile seemed out of place. And then you understand. You can't go on anymore. It's not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough not to pretend. The mask that once protected you has now become a prison. You don't want to smash it. You just can't keep carrying it around anymore. It's heavy and you're tired. That doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you're ready to find your way back to yourself. Even if you don't know where to start, just be brave enough to admit, I'm not okay, and I don't want to pretend anymore. Then, that's the first step towards stepping out of the role and returning. Taking off a mask is not like throwing away an old shirt. It's not simple. It's not a one-and-done situation. Because a mask isn't just one layer, but many layers, stacked on top of each other, enveloping each other, like an onion. And just like an onion, the deeper you peel, the more you'll shed tears. Not because of weakness, but because you're getting closer to what truly matters. Every class you're taking isn't random. They are the result of the times you had to strain to fit in, to swallow your emotions so you wouldn't be left behind. From being good as a child, to being responsible as an adult, and then stable as you enter life. It's all a mechanism for survival. But the problem isn't that you used to wear a mask. The problem is you've forgotten it's a mask. Taking them apart doesn't require you to change the world. It only requires one thing: the courage to be honest with yourself, one layer at a time. You can start by observing very small reactions. When you force a smile in a boring conversation, when you say, "I'm fine," while feeling chaotic inside, or when you nod, even though your intuition is screaming, "Don't." Those moments are the outer layers of an onion, seemingly harmless, but gradually concealing your true self. Write them down. You don't need to do elaborate healing journaling. Just a few lines each day. Today, I wasn't honest when, and then leave it. Because seeing is a way of peeling back layers. And when you write, you're doing something masks can never do. You're being honest. Besides that, practice in the state of not knowing. Sometimes you'll ask yourself, if not that role, then who am I? And you won't get an answer right away. That's okay, because the closer you get to the center of the onion, the less clearly defined it becomes. But it was also there that you began to feel yourself, without a framework, without labels. And then, in situations where you usually tense up, you try not to tense up anymore. When someone asks for your opinion, try pausing for a few seconds before answering, to see what you really think. When someone expects you to play the role of the understanding one, try staying silent. No need to resist, just don't continue the performance. That's how you peel back another layer, gently but truly. Most importantly, every time you feel pain, fatigue, or a vague discomfort, don't rush to think you're failing. It's just the slight sting from the onions being peeled. And tears aren't a sign of being on the wrong path. They're a signal that you're on the right one. As you peel away the layers, you'll see your own raw, gentle, and trustworthy self emerge. No need for makeup, no need for a role. Just you, whole, unconditional. And you'll realize you don't need to become something new. You just need to remember what's always there. You don't have to wait for an event to change. You don't need to wait for someone to accept you before you dare to step out of your old role. Because the truth is, you can change your identity at any time, as long as you dare to remember. Dare to remember who you are before the world teaches you who you should be. And perhaps you've forgotten that. Being yourself doesn't need to be earned, doesn't need to be perfect, and doesn't need to be approved. It only needs one thing: a choice. You choose to be honest, even though it's not always easy to hear. You choose a different path, even when no one supports you. You choose to be honest with your feelings, even though sometimes you can't quite name them. That's how you change your life. No need for a 10-year plan, no need for a better version. Just keep peeling back the layers and stay with the part that no one has ever touched. There, you will see, you were never lost. You're just remembering the way back. And if you're still here, reading, listening, feeling, thinking along with me until the very end, then perhaps a part of you has already begun to stir. Don't let it be forgotten again. If this video touches something within you, let a like and the subscribe button remind you that you've begun your journey back. And if you need a companion on the path of removing your mask, I'll still be here every week.